Hello everyone, my name is Arnaud De Lapierre. Today, I want to talk to you about a discreet yet closely watched phenomenon: luxury real estate as a haven for dirty money. Throughout history, this sector has often served as a hideout for capital of dubious origin, and it's fascinating to see why. From funding large residences to setting up shell companies, there are many tricks to make. Pass large sums under the radar of the authorities. In this new video, I invite you to break down the mechanics, the mechanisms that make high-end real estate so sought after for hiding funds. Suspects. From the beginning of the 20th century, criminal organizations turned to real estate to make their operations less visible. The Italian mafias, for example, understood that purchasing buildings in discrete urban centers effectively covered the origin of their funds. Over time, these groups have refined their methods, moving from a few occasional acquisitions to managing genuine real estate empires. The prestige associated with certain neighborhoods gives these atypical investors a respectable image. This practice has continued to the present day, constantly finding new ways to circumvent the constraints imposed by various laws. Shady capital is no longer limited to traditional criminal groups. Now, some corrupt leaders and dubious fortunes are also investing in luxury real estate to transform their money. The allure of these sumptuous houses or penthouses with panoramic views goes beyond the simple desire to shine. It's a way to secure funds and establish an apparent legitimacy. The value of a high-end property can increase quickly, offering a dual advantage: laundering the initial investment and generating legal profit. Even as laws become stricter, financial schemes remain complex, allowing one to circumvent limitations or restrictions. Before continuing, I want to share a great tip for everyone following stock market and crypto news: the Notrade app, available on iOS and Android. It offers a very accurate signal service, completely free and highly efficient. Its interface is intuitive, making it pleasant to search for opportunities and spot trends. You will receive clear alerts, ideal for adjusting your choices at a glance. Even if you already have your habits, Notrade brings a little extra that can make a difference in the long run. Don't hesitate to try it. Download it, since it is free. To return to our main topic and understand how these operations are set up, you just need to look at the structures based on offshore companies and bank accounts spread across several countries. The buyers of luxurious goods hide their identity by using a maze of legal entities. At each step, the trace of the money becomes blurred, complicating the task of the authorities. This camouflage proves formidable because real estate transactions are not always checked with the same rigor as traditional bank flows. The organizations responsible for combating fraud must therefore double their efforts while facing regulatory and administrative loopholes. International reports show that capitals like London or New York attract astronomical sums from such schemes. The ultra-high-end market often serves as a front-to-house capital from various trafficking activities. In some neighborhoods, almost all properties are owned by people living abroad, which fuels suspicions. Villas on the French Riviera, just like certain exclusive areas in Asia or the Middle East, raise somewhat the same type of operation. This rush for prestigious location has a direct effect on prices, sometimes making local life unaffordable. Beyond mere money laundering, these acquisitions also serve as a social facade. Officially, these villas or penthouses can be presented as vacation homes or legitimate investments. This gives an appearance of normality to the holders, which can even claim to contribute to the local economy. In practice, these properties sometimes remain unoccupied most of the year, making their use somewhat, even unclear. Some buyers pay in cash, which raises questions about the exact source of the funds. Nevertheless, the luxury label brings an aura of respectability, and this image should allow for passing by gigantic sums without attracting much attention. Unlike a bank deposit that triggers immediate checks, the purchase of real estate often involves less stringent administrative procedures. Notaries or real estate agents do verifications, but these are sometimes less thorough than one might think. The rules vary from one country to another, and some jurisdictions remain very lenient about the source of funds. This results in an environment where the most skillful can circumvent the limits without much difficulty. Governments regularly try to strengthen their laws, but the measures put in place often prove insufficient to counter the most sophisticated concealment schemes. Another major consequence of these strategies is the skyrocketing prices in certain real estate markets. When fortunes seek to secure their assets, they sometimes pay well above the estimated value. This bidding war drives costs up and ends up making a large portion of the residential market inaccessible to residents. Cities like Vancouver, Hong Kong, have special taxes been imposed to curb this phenomenon. Imagine, even if the results remain mixed, local populations sometimes feel dispossessed of their neighborhoods, while ghost residences record astronomical prices without concrete benefit for the community. The money laundering mechanism involves several steps called placement, layering, and integration. Initially, the money of questionable origin is injected into accounts or shell companies, then directed towards real estate assets. Expensive renovations may be undertaken, artificially inflating the property's value. Once resolved, the investment is mixed with officially legitimate funds. The difficulty for authorities is to trace the operation from start to finish because each layer of intermediary makes the trail a bit more blurred. This process requires skills in law and finance, which explains the involvement of highly specialized experts in the field. Concrete examples support this reality. Several investigations have revealed how corrupt dignitaries, particularly in China, acquire very luxurious apartments, for example even in Vancouver or Sydney, without arousing immediate suspicion. Influential figures in Russia do the same on the French Riviera or in the wealthy districts of London. The amounts involved are slowly paraded, raising questions about effective control. International media sometimes seize these stories, creating temporary buzz. However, most of the mechanisms remain invisible, and only a few spectacular cases end up in the spotlight, suggesting that many other dealings obviously go unnoticed. The lack of transparency does not depend solely on the buyers. Some players in the market also prefer to turn a blind eye as long as the money is paid. Bankers, lawyers, intermediaries, even various intermediaries can enjoy lucrative deals if they don't ask too many questions. For many, it's business above all, and the origin of the funds eventually becomes secondary. Anti-money laundering controls exist, but they can be bypassed by new schemes supported by rather sophisticated financial engineering. In this context, morality is not always the priority. As long as transactions are concluded, everyone sees their own interest at the expense of the common good. Collective. Some governments have established registers that disclose the identity of beneficial owners. The idea is to name the true holders behind each company. But as soon as a new law comes in, lawyers with boundless creativity devise ways to bypass or circumvent the constraint. The obligation to disclose can be avoided by further splitting the structures or transferring the properties to entities based in more permissive. The challenge is to reconcile political will with actual implementation. Sanctions exist, but they are rarely applied in their full force, hence the persistence of these opaque practices. New technologies and the digitization of the market might change the game. Startups specializing in data analysis strive to identify suspicious purchases and unveil questionable financial flows. Blockchains, when properly used, can offer superior traceability compared to traditional banks. However, the same technique is sometimes used to conceal the origin of crypto assets before converting them into real estate form. There is thus a delicate balance between the desire to innovate and the reality on the ground, where criminals are always on the lookout for the slightest blind spot to perpetuate their practices. To summarize, luxury real estate constitutes a very attractive shelter for dirty money. For decades, criminal networks, corrupt dignitaries, and various unscrupulous actors have relied on this channel to launder their treasures. Financial arrangements, involvement of intermediaries, complacent and the blurred legal boundaries create a framework that might be, I want to say, ideal for these operations. Yet, nothing is set in stone. Legislative and technological progress is starting to shed light on these dubious schemes, even though the road will still be long. Thank you for following this video with me until the end. It was Arnaud De Lapierre. Do not hesitate to subscribe and like to support the channel and discover new videos.